Welcome to beautiful downtown Grand Forks. It is October 6th at approximately 5:30 p.m. This is the time and place for the Grand Forks Growth Fund Committee. Item 1.1 is roll call.
Weigel.
Here.
Osowski. Here. Berg. Here. Lenski. Here. Friedolfs. Friedolfs, Mike, are you on? Sandy.
Here.
Bean. And Mayor Buczynski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Oh, Mike just chimed in, so.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Here.
Okay, I have you recorded. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 2.1. Or item 2 is action items. 2.1, Ideal Aerosmith Purchase Agreement Modification. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Weigel. I wanted to quickly go through this. This is for Ideal Aerosmith. As we dealt with this, I think back in June 24 originally. But just to remind you, Ideal Aerosmith is a multifaceted company providing a wide array of industrial services to global clientele. They're headquartered here in Grand Forks. They have 175 people across 3 facilities. They're looking to add another 75 jobs. And they're looking to purchase, as part of this project, purchase 15 acres from the JDA in our business park property that we own. That's west of the interstate, looking to put up approximately 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility on those 15 acres with up to 175,000. And the terms would remain the same as our previous contract. However, we are looking to extend it out a year. They have been doing testing on the site, about $125,000 worth of testing. Specifically, there's some uniqueness to the work that they do in terms of making sure that sensitivity of the ground. They're actually picking up some vibration of the interstate as well as the railroad that is east or west of that site. And so there is some concerns. They're just trying to do their testing with that. They have signed the current purchase agreement and have deposited the earnest money, which was $100,000 in this case. And since there's been such a time gap, we did want to bring it to you to reaffirm, and we would have the chair, Weigel, sign that purchase agreement. So with that, I'll certainly answer any questions. And Mr. Goss, I believe, is online as well to answer any specific questions you may have on that purchase agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. We'll open the public hearing on item 2.1. Is anybody here to speak on 2.1? Anybody here to speak on 2.1? Seeing nobody, we'll turn it over or close the public hearing.
I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 2.2, Flex Pace Loan Request, Associated Potato Growers Incorporated. Mr. Conlon.
Thank you, Chairman Weigel, members of the authority. Associated Potato Growers is a primary sector certified grower-owned cooperative. They're a leading potato packaging company in the Midwest, and they've been growing steadily. Expanded their operations over the past several years with the latest project, which is before you tonight, involving the purchase of a new sorting system. In short, it's going to significantly improve their efficiency and accuracy in their warehouse. That'll in turn help improve their distribution and long-term competitiveness for the cooperative. It's approximately a $446,000 project funded in part by a CODA bank loan of $425,000, which we're being asked to provide a loan of $29,049 to buy down the interest on the loan to 2.5%. Security and repayment terms are outlined in the staff report, but happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. We'll open the public hearing on item 2.2. Is anybody here to speak on item 2.2? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing on item 2.2. Open up to comments.
I have comments.
Ms. Osowski.
So I guess I have a couple concerns about this. I can see that they have 2 other loans still out, so this will be the 3rd one that we'd give them. Also, They only have 9 employees, and, when we talked about it at the Growth Fund, they did say maybe they'd add 1 or 2, but I mean, we are the Job Development Authority. I would hope, and I understand that it can be to, help retain these, but this is just for productivity. I guess I don't really understand how that helps retain these 9, besides just kind of lessening the workload, making it a little bit more animated. I also have a concern that, we as taxpayers have greatly subsidized Agristo at the state level and at the city level. And now here we are with our first, potato company trying to get a loan. And how much do we plan on subsidizing these potato growers after we just helped get Agristo here, which was something that they really wanted? And they stated that they needed Agristo here so they could, help make money and things like that. And so are we just going to then start getting loan requests for new potato storage now that Agristo's here? Because I understand that they're pretty picky, or they really like a certain type of potato storage. And so now I'm concerned that not only are we subsidizing the company that the potato growers wanted to come here to help them make money, but now we're going to subsidize the potato growers even more. And I do have a concern with that. And I would like to see, when we do issue these loans, I'd like to see them adding jobs actually to our community, because this is their 3rd loan and they only have 9 employees, and it doesn't sound like they really plan on adding that many more. And I really like the program when it comes to adding new jobs to our community, but I am really concerned about, I guess, the potato growers in general at this point. So,
Maybe Chair Weigel, if I could
Phelan.
help answer Councilmember Osowski's. I think the distinction with this project is that it's the fresh potato market. And when you look at Agristo or JR Simplot, they're in the processing. And so this is another opportunity for us to support our farmers in our region, not only on processing potatoes that we already have with JR Simplot, but those that are yet to come with Agristo. But these are a fresh potato market that we distribute, around the country to grocery stores and other places. So I think it's a distinct market. I think the other thing we want to really do is make sure that not only add jobs. I know we have this Jobs Development Authority because it was probably some word that was created back in, I don't know, it's 1975 or something like that. So now it's also about automation and how do we remain competitive in the marketplace with more automated machines and that sort of thing. Not only for us, but you have to think about maybe we're hiring, enables 10 people to be employed, but think of how many people we're supporting in our entire region, in the whole farm industry. And then once these potatoes get packaged here, they're going throughout the country, but it starts here with our farmers. So I think there's some distinctions. We want to make sure they're competitive, but I also wanted to let you know that this is a different kind of potato market than what we saw with Agristo.
will they not be selling their potatoes to Agristo?
No, these are fresh potatoes that go generally to grocery stores.
The Red River
Yeah,
Valley
they could be
potatoes?
red or they could be white. So this is a different potato than are going to be served by Agristo or JR Simplot. Certainly, all the potato farmers are excited about Agristo because they're going to have a higher valued potato that they're going to be able to sell and help build potato storage or renew their potato storage, which is a big deal. The state did in this last legislative session, not only did it provide Agristo a $30 million line of credit, forgivable line of credit, they also provided some incentives from a tax incentive perspective on potato storage too. So I think the state's really stepped up in supporting the potato industry, supporting our region, and there might be some additional requests to help support them, both in the fresh potato, but also with Agristo and JR Simplot and all the great potato processors that we have in the state of North Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Mayor Wachinski?
I'll move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 2.3 is loan modification request, safety spec. Mr. Conlon.
Thank you, Chairman Weigel, members of the authority. You may recall back in June, we approved a restructure for safety spec. At the time, that was to help provide some cash flow flexibility as they navigated sort of a series of, call them delays and disruptions at the federal level to some of the federal grants that they've received. In short, it's sort of impacted the pace of their access to the funds associated with those grants. So the company has been hitting its milestones associated with those grants, and they've demonstrated that. They provided some supporting information following the Growth Fund Committee at which that was requested. So they have provided that, which shows they are on track with the milestones. They're just experiencing some delays in accessing those funds. So the request tonight really is just sort of to fine tune that restructure that we brought forward back in June to better align it, I guess, with those milestones and that sort of new timeline for fund access. So with that, happy to stand for any questions. I believe Ken Barton with the company is also on the line for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. We'll open the public hearing on item 2.3. Is anybody here to speak on item 2.3? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Comments from the committee? We have a motion approved by Sandy.
I'll second.
Second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 2.4, Hive Management Agreement. Mr. Sossin.
Good evening, Chair Weigel and members of the authority. My name is Haley Rosasson, and I'm here to do a quick introduction on the Hive agreement. Staff is recommending approval of the agreement tonight, but I did want to make one note that we did have two changes since the growth fund approval on the effective date of the agreement and also insurance coverage amounts. Now I'll turn it over to Dan for specifics on the agreement.
Mr. Gosted.
All right, thank you. My apologies for not being there tonight. I've got a matter out in Bismarck the next several days. So I'll just go through the agreement. I went through it in detail on the Growth Fund Committee, and hopefully you're able to review or see part of that. But I'll just try to go through it as quickly as I can. I want to start with some of the key definitions. First is Hive operating revenue. That's at section 1.23. That is effectively all revenue that could be generated from the Hive building or for Hive events or from the services that would be rendered by the manager under the agreement. It does not, however, include naming rights or what are called manager tenant member service revenue or revenues from city or JDA events. The next key definition is at section 1.20. That's Hive operating expenses. And that includes the expenses to operate in the Hive building. It includes Hive building expenses, and I'll talk about that in a second. The management fee that's payable under section 3.2, and then other costs that may be incurred by the JDA, legal fees, things like that. But the Hive operating expenses does not include Hive capital expenses or the manager expenses, and we'll talk about that in a bit here. Hive building expenses, which are part of the Hive operating expenses, includes day-to-day repairs and maintenance, insurance, utilities, and again, Hive capital expenses and manager expenses are not included within that defined term. Operating profit and operating loss, those are at sections 1.21 and 1.22. They are what you would expect them to be. Operating profit is if there is the Hive operating revenue exceeds Hive operating expenses, and it's determined by March 1 of every year by the JDA. And likewise, Hive operating losses would be when the expenses exceed the revenues. Hive capital expenses, and I've mentioned that a couple of times, that are excluded from some of these operating expenses. That's at section 1.18. It includes anything within the building, infrastructure, equipment that would cost more than $5,000 or have a useful life of 5 years or more. Now at section 1.32, it defines what manager expenses are. And it means all the expenses that the manager will incur to perform their services, including costs and expenses for Hive events. And Hive events are all events that could be conducted, services, programs that can be conducted in that building. The exclusion would be if the city held an event there or the JDA held an event there. And so the manager expenses are pretty broad in nature. And those are things that the manager then ends up paying themselves. Then the next term is what are called manager tenant member services. That is section 1.34. Those are services that the manager had mentioned they may want to provide to some of the tenants or the members at the Hive that may not come within the services themselves. They may be one-off type of services that they want to provide, and we'll talk about that. There's a section on manager tenant member services that I'll go through in a bit. Section 3 really delineates the engagement of the manager, and the management fee is, to begin with, it's $33,333.33 per month, which equates to $400,000 in a 12-month period of time. It's adjusted on the effective date. So next year, November 1, it'd be adjusted, and it's based upon a CPI index. Also, starting in the year 2026, if there is a Hive operating profit, the manager would share in 25% of that Hive operating profit, and that's at 3.2.4. Section 3.3, as I've talked about, are the manager expenses, and they're obligated to pay all those. The manager is obligated to pay all those expenses and any debts and liabilities that they may incur to perform those services. Section 4 lists a number, 4.1 lists a number of services that they are to perform. There's a laundry list of items there, 24 subsections, and some of which have subsections in and of themselves. I'll highlight a couple of them. One is at 4.1.2. They are to conduct the Hive events. Again, those are any type of program that's conducted in that facility. They are also to provide an operations manual within 6 months of the effective date. That would then be subject to approval by the JDA. And then really 4.1.112 or 4.1.12, they are to pursue and generate and secure operating revenues as best as they can. I won't go through the rest of them because there's a number of items that are listed there. 4.2 just talks about some extra services. So if something doesn't fall within that section 4.1, they would be deemed to be an extra service. At that point, the city may ask the manager to perform those extra services, and then to the extent that we can enter into negotiations and arrive at enter into good faith negotiations to arrive at agreement, we would do so. If we can't, then the city or the JDA would hire somebody else to perform those services. City events and JDA events would be the example of an extra service. So if we ask them to manage those two items, those two events, then we'd try to enter into an agreement with them under this extra services provision. Then there's a host of items under section 4, 4.3 and 4.4 talk about their standards of performance and their time and efforts to do so. Want to point out there's a section 4.11. There's a non-compete provision in there, and that was added to assure that the manager is focused on the Hive building. And if they wanted to perform services for some other entity, that they'd have to come before the JDA to get that approval before they'd be permitted to do so under this agreement. 4.12, there's operating budget. The JDA is going to have most of the information, if not all of it, with respect to the Hive operating expenses. But we ask the manager to do is to give us an estimate as to what they expect the operating revenue to be, and then what they expect the capital expenses to be. And then the JDA would then develop a budget from that information on an annual basis. 4.19 is another item that I want to point out. It just sets forth what the expectations of why the JDA is entering into this. There will be some additional expenses that will be incurred with this manager fee that there will be some expenses that will be reduced as a result of this, but it still won't be equivalent. Though the manager fee will still exceed the savings and the expenses that the JDA may experience by doing this. And so we just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that, we don't, we're in the same spot, and the manager will endeavor not to make it any worse than what is currently existing with the Hive operation, and hopefully improve the financial outlook of Hive. But that's the reason why Section 4.19 is in there, to give everybody understanding what the expectations and what the understanding is in entering into this agreement. Next, 4.20, I talked a little bit about this manager-tenant member services. The most important component of it is they're responsible for all the costs and expenses, but even more so that they can't perform those services that would disrupt or interfere with their ability to perform the services. So the services under the agreement take priority over anything that they may want to do with respect to these tenant member services that they may want to perform. Section 5 describes what the JDA's involvement is. Again, I think I've talked about this. The JDA pays for the operating expenses and then Hive capital expenses. Bear in mind the Hive capital expenses have to come before the JDA for approval. So it's any type of item that exceeds that 5,000 threshold would have to come before the board for its approval. Section 6, and this is where Haley was speaking a little bit. There was some change with respect to the language, the amount of insurance coverage. It was reduced. We did speak to the city's insurance agent just to kind of get a sanity check to make sure that those numbers made sense and confirm that the numbers seemed reasonable. And so we reduced those. That would be at section 6.2 where those changes are, and they should be in redlined so you can see them. They're not. They went from basically from a 2 million, 2 million per occurrence and 4 million annual aggregate for liability down to $1 to $2 million was the primary change. And also with respect to automobile liability insurance, that went down to $1 million combined. And again, we wanted to make sure that those made sense and got confirmation that those were reasonable. The other change was at 6.2.8. That section provides that if the insurance coverages that are in the agreement are not sufficient or inadequate, that the JDA can make a request to get additional insurance coverage, provide the rationale for asking for the request, and the manager then either needs to go out and get the insurance or find some alternative to that insurance coverage within a 60-day period of time, and that alternative would be acceptable to the JDA. If that doesn't happen, if there is an insurance coverage or the alternative is not found to be acceptable to the JDA, then either party can terminate the agreement without any type of fee or compensation. And so that was the change that was made, is to give the manager the ability to at least propose an alternative option as opposed to the just going out and getting the insurance. So, and again, if it doesn't come to fruition, then both parties have the ability to terminate the agreement without fee or cost to either party. Section 8 outlines the term of the agreement. And this is the change that Haley was talking about. The effective date is November 1. It's a 5-year period of time, and so it would terminate at October 31st on year 2030. Both sides we can terminate by mutual agreement, or the JDA either party can terminate with 120 days notice. If the JDA does that, however, there is a termination payment. That's at section 8.3.2, equivalent to 4 months of the monthly rental, whatever that would, or excuse me, the management fee, whatever that would be at the particular time. And of course, once the termination comes into play, then the manager stops performing. If there is an event of default, however, that would warrant a termination, then that 4-month payment is not paid by the JDA or wouldn't be obligated to pay that, nor would that, I just talked about that insurance. If there is an increase in insurance, that 4-month payment wouldn't be applicable in that event of a termination. So I'm sorry to drone on so long, but I wanted to go through just briefly some of the terms and conditions, and I went through this in a little bit more detail with the growth fund last week as well. So if you have any questions, I can hopefully can answer them for you.
Thank you, Mr. Gostin. You don't know this, but I think there's pre-law students in the crowd tonight, and you just showed them how thorough of an attorney we have for the city of Grand Forks. So we appreciate
the
that.
kind words.
Yes. We'll open the public hearing on item 2.4. Is anybody here to speak on item 2.4? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Comments from the committee?
I have comments.
Ms. Osowski.
Yeah, I have questions also. What kind of insurance do we have on it right now, Mr. Gosted?
That, I don't know what the insurance coverages are. I know that the amount that we demand of the tenants as far as their insurance coverage to insure the JDA in the city is consistent with what we're asking the manager, $1 million and $2 million amounts. Bear in mind, too, that we're also going to be named insureds under those policies as well.
Okay, and this agreement is good for 5 or 6 years? Which one is it?
5.
5 years? Okay. I guess I'd like Maureen to give a cost breakdown a little bit on this and on really where this money is coming from. I don't know. I feel like we're a little bit stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's losing money. If we sell it, we lose money. We're losing money. Hopefully it gets better with hiring them to manage it. But I'd like to know, because we are going to get rid of some employees for the city, correct?
Ms. Storstad.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Osowski, members of JDA. So the I can go through the numbers of the 26 budget and how this agreement would affect that.
Okay, thank you.
So the 2026 budget was based on total income of $454,977 to match the total expense, but that revenue or the income did include a city contribution from the city's economic development fund of roughly $126,000. So that's the amount currently that's not actuals, but that's what we budget for 2026. So the change, Haley worked with Josh in our office to put together numbers based on the impacts of this agreement. And so how those numbers would change then would be our expenses would be roughly $229,000 more when you net out the staffing and marketing and management fee. And as Mr. Gosted said, the expectation would be that more revenue would be raised to make us whole on that. So that number is roughly 200,000 difference, 229.
And that's after we're done paying the employees and...
Correct, that
kind
would
of
mean
things like that.
staffing would come off of the city's books, and that would be part of the management fee. They'd absorb that, as well as absorbing those marketing expenses.
So right now, we kind of have a loss budgeted for $126,000 for 2026, and that's going to go up to $229,000?
So the 229,000 difference would be just to make us whole to keep at that 126 loss. So they would be challenged to increase revenue by that 229,
Okay, so
to keep us status quo.
Okay, so we're hoping that even though we're going to pay them, what is it, $400,000 a year, right? That still hasn't changed, $66,000 a month. That although right now we're projected to lose more, we are hoping that it'll get down to the 126 where we are currently budgeted at, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So it's a $400,000 management fee that includes staffing, includes marketing. So there's the total net increase to expense there is that 229,000 to make us where we are now.
But they're going to try to get it down to 126.
Correct. By so the amount of difference to keep us at 126,000 subsidy, if you want to say, or money coming from economic development, they'd look to raise revenue income by that 229,000.
Okay. I guess, the first, I don't know. I mean, I have nothing against Grant Sky. I think they're going to do a wonderful job. I'm really concerned just about the amount of money that the Hive is costing us in general. I would like to see us really work on selling it. I think Grant Skies will do a great job managing it. In the meantime, I am concerned about signing a 5-year contract, though, with them when I know I've talked to other people on the council and they have thought about selling it also. And so then I feel like, because we'll have to pay 4 months rent, so I don't know what that'd be, but that seems kind of hefty. Do we have to sign a 5-year agreement? Can we see how maybe year 1 and year 2 go and kind of play it by ear a little bit?
Mr. Phelan.
Chair Weigel, Councilmember Osowski, when the group negotiated with Grand Sky, we thought the 5-year was a reasonable amount. Like, for example, other management agreements that we've had, like with OVG operating the Alara Center was a 10-year agreement. It was a 5-year initial agreement with another 5 years thereafter, and in a couple of years we're going to be at the 10 years. So we thought the 5-year was a reasonable time period, and not as long out as a 10-year. And we thought with the reasonable expectation of wanting Grand Sky to be successful, that you want a bit of a runway, and we thought the 5-year runway was appropriate. And with and the other thing we wanted to capture, the 5-year mark is really, there's some exciting things coming in the UAS industry, and that 5-year time period would really help them capture that. And then with the 4-year out that we both have, if things aren't going as well as we thought, essentially, if it's not for cause, it's true that we do have a 4-month payout, but we thought that was a reasonable way to go. 5 years, it will capture some of the growth that we're going to see in the next 5 years, and then we still have the 4-month out if things don't transpire as we want to over the next 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Mayor Buczynski.
Just a couple comments. And I do think that worked. I think we originally they wanted 6 months. We were at 3. We ended at 4. So I think that was pretty reasonable. I do think we're in agreement in the future that makes sense to move this building into the private sector. Then we still have a UAS hub here. Originally, when it was purchased, the idea wasn't that it was going to be a profit center. So now that we are actually drawing some revenue from it, now we have to look at it as an asset that should be bringing in a profit when it was only going to lose money when it was purchased. So I think we've got an opportunity. I think we can hold them to that contract and make sure that they're doing well on it. And ultimately, I think we'd all like to see it moved on. We'll have to look at that hurdle on the EDA grant money that went into it, because if we had to lose that on top of it, it would be significant. So I'm definitely willing to give it an opportunity. I want to thank, if this does go through, I want to thank Mr. John Ryan's done a good job, as well as Haley, of getting to where it's at today with a kind of a skeleton crew. Haley will still work for us. John will be unemployed from the city of Grand Forks. We'd have to thank him for the work he's done to get it to here. So just wanted to make those comments, and I'll move approval.
Thank you. We have a motion approved by Buczynski,
I'll second.
second by Berg. Further comments, President Sandy?
Hey, yeah, can you hear me okay? Sorry.
We can.
I was in another continent, country. Couple of questions for Mr. Gosted. 411, the non-compete, Mr. Gosted, Grand Sky already has facilities out at Grand Sky, and they manage them. How does that reconcile with this non-compete?
This will be a separate LLC. I don't think it's going to be the same LLC that's operating Grand Sky. It'll be a new entity. So this manager it wouldn't be the same manager at Grand. It may be the same individuals, but the manager is different, as I understand it. They're going to form a new LLC to be the manager for the Hive enterprise.
Well, what's the point of the non-compete? If it's the same group that already is doing this, why would we put in a non-compete when they're already gonna be competing out of the chute? Maybe that's a rhetorical, I don't know if I know the answer to that, but to me, I don't understand. Why are we asking for a non-compete when they're competing?
Yep, I inserted the non-compete and I was told it was going to be a separate LLC.
Okay, all right. Okay, sounds good. Sorry. 419. I recognize that we wanted to, and I don't know whose idea it was to put in 419 to say that that our expectation is that we don't want a loss greater than 150,000. I think it's feel good, but there's no teeth to that, to 419 at all. It really adds nothing to the agreement other than it makes us feel good that they fully understand that that's our goal. I don't know if that shouldn't just be in a preamble or what, but I don't, my personal opinion is adding things to agreements just for the sake of adding them when they don't mean anything. I disagree with it, so I'd be one to, if others want to remove it, I don't see any point in having it. I guess maybe that also was a rhetorical, Mr. Gustin. So on the 4-month payment, for 120-day termination, do they continue to manage for the 120 days, or is it immediate termination and we pay them 4 months?
It's the immediate termination with the 4-month payout. We could give them 4 months notice. I think the theory would be they could finish out the 4 months, or I guess we could ask them to leave immediately as well.
Okay, I think, in my opinion, I would like to see the expectation that they would, if we're going to be paying them for 4 months, I'd like to see them finish the term for the 4 months myself. I don't know how to frame a motion, but in my opinion, if we're going to be paying them a penalty, they get 4 months to figure out how to divest themselves. The least they could do is continue to manage the facility for those 4 months. I don't know if others agree with me or not.
The termination clause requires a 120-day notice. So during that period of time, they could continue to operate for that notice period, that 4-month notice period.
I would like to see that. I don't know what motion I could make to have you update the agreement that says they will do that. But I would like to amend the agreement that says we will pay them the 4-month penalty fee, but they will continue to manage the facility for the remaining 4 months. And so I would make a motion to amend the agreement to state that. If others disagree, that I'm not gonna have heartburn, but I think if we're gonna be paying them, the least they can do is finish out that 4-month term.
I second.
We have a motion by President Sandy to amend.
Yeah, it'd be an amendment to my motion, yep.
Okay, so Mayor Wachensky's in favor of that.
I'm just telling you what it is. We'll see when we vote.
Chair Weigel, if I could add, maybe to Council President Sandy, could we say that language that they shall do it unless the JDA votes that we don't want you here anymore, whatever that language would look like.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gillen. That is what my intention was.
Thank you, President Sandy. All right, we have a motion and a second to amend. Seeing no further discussion on that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. And we
Okay,
have,
and the last, Mr. Weigel, thank you very much, Chairman Weigel. I just wanted to make sure that I understand the finances Ms. Storsted said correctly. We were budgeting $126,000 loss. And now, under this agreement, our expectation is if nothing changes, we're going to be adding another $229,000 loss for a total loss of $345,000. If nothing changes, if they aren't able to bring in any additional revenue. Is that correct? Is my math correct?
Your math is correct, assuming, yes, if they cannot raise additional revenue, it does increase the expense by that.
Right, so just so we're clear, then, to meet Article 419, that has no teeth to it, Grand Sky needs to increase revenue a minimum of $195,000, which is 66% of the revenue that we generated last year. Is my math correct, Ms. Dorstad? We generated approximately $300,000 in lease revenue. In order to get to a minimum of $150,000 loss, they need to generate another $195,000, which means basically $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Man, I hope they hustle. That's going to be great. If they're able to do this, it's going to be great. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dorstad. Thank you, Mr. Weigel.
thank you, President Sandy. Further discussion? Seeing none, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 2.5 is policies and procedures update. Mr. Conlon.
Thank you, Chairman Weigel, members of the authority. Keep it short. Policies and procedures haven't been updated since 2019, so we've updated them. The details of the material changes are in the staff report, but happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. We'll open the public hearing on item 2.5. Is anybody here to speak on item 2.5? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Bachensky, second by Osowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. For everybody's information, item 3.1 is a 2024 annual report. If you'd like to take a look at that.
I move adjournment.
We have a motion to adjourn by Osowski, second by Lunsky. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.
All right, we'll move right along. We'll call to order the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, October 6th. If we get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Sure. Weigel?
Here.
Osowski? Here. Berg? Here. Lunsky? Here. Friedolfs?
Here.
President Sandy?
Here.
And Veen? We have a quorum.
All right, item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trish Moore's St. Mary's class. And the moment we've all been waiting for, thank you for sitting around politely.
St. Michael's, Mr. Mayor.
Did I say St. Mary's?
Yeah.
Everybody, come on up here. You get to see behind the screen back here. See where all the action takes place. Go ahead, guys, come on in here. I got to be the mystery reader at their class. Probably the best behaved fourth grade class I've ever been around, so great job, you guys. All right, you guys ready? Let's all face the flag. Do this right. Hands over your heart. Who wants to start?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am a peacemaker. I treat myself and others with respect. I listen, I share, I care for the earth, air, water, plants, and animals. I am important to this very big world. I know because peace begins with me.
Thank you, guys. Right here. Yeah, I got some stuff. Oh, actually, hold on. You guys want to get a picture? Let's get everybody in here. Take a quick picture. Thanks again. Thank you. Have a good night. We got to read a great book called Those Shoes. So if anyone wants a good book for kids, go to the library and check out the book of Those Shoes. It's a good one for fourth graders. All right, a couple of announcements. Item 1.3, mayor's announcements. Just wanted to highlight, we had that Gate City Loan Program, improvement program that had come out. That's going to close October 31st. So if you have a home you're looking at doing some remodeling, you get interest rates bought down to as low as 4.5%. So if you have a single-family home worth less than $350,000, check out the city's website and get in on that program. It's a great opportunity to cut some costs. A lot of things took place this last couple of weeks. We had a fifth Monday, so we didn't meet at the end of the month, which was nice. Then the 25th, we had the longest table, which was another successful event, getting people together to just have a conversation. That was held over at the Career Impact Academy. And then one of my favorite events that I usually get to go to every year is the Valley Senior Living held their annual Oktoberfest at the Alaris Center, another well-attended event with some good polka music by Matt and the Dakota Dutchman, which my brother-in-law is the concertina player. So believe it or not, he might be the youngest concertina player left in society, but he does it. On Friday, we had the Wake Up UND event, and they announced just record-breaking student attendance this year, 15,844 students. That's just phenomenal. We hope that number keeps growing. That's a real pride for the community. And then, as I mentioned, on October 2nd, on Thursday, as a mystery reader at Trish Moore's fourth grade class, and that they got to come and do the national anthem. And then just wanted to highlight, we had representatives from Kanuma, the Japanese city, that came over. We have student exchange with them. They come over here every year, and our students go there every year. Back when the flood happened, they donated money to create Sertoma Park. So when you're ever going through Sertoma Park, know that there was a Japanese city that wanted to help out Grand Forks during that and donated time and money to make that park happen, which I think is a pretty phenomenal story. So we had a celebration with the delegation and a barbecue over there at Sertoma Park, and was happy to speak at that. That's all for mayor's announcements. We'll move on to 2 awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is a proclamation, Fire Prevention Week, October 5th through the 11th.
All right, Chief Marcotte wanted to make sure I read this one because the best job he can do is not leave the fire station. So, proclamation, Fire Prevention Week, October 5th to the 11th, whereas the City of Grand Forks is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in Grand Forks and visiting, and whereas fire remains a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and the presence of lithium-ion batteries in many household devices introduces unique fire risks, and whereas most of the electronics used in homes daily includes smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat, start a fire, or explode. Whereas the National Fire Protection Association reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium batteries. Therefore, I, Brandon Boczynski, Mayor of Grand Forks, do hereby proclaim October 5th to the 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week throughout Grand Forks. And you can read the full proclamation. It's posted online. So thank you. That's it for item 2. We'll move to item 3, public hearings and second reading of ordinances.
3.1 is a public hearing and second reading of ordinance amending City Code Section 21-0237 so as to impose sanctions upon liquor license holders for selling alcohol in violation of City Code Sections 9-0115 or 21-0225 in state law.
All right, thank you. This is the second reading, so we will open up for a public hearing on item 3.1. Anyone here to speak on item 3.1, please step up to the microphone. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council for comments or motions.
A motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second from Ms. Lunsky. Motion from Berg, second from Lunsky. President Sandy, did you have a comment? Please. Oh, no comment. All right. Sounds good. Any further comments on item 3.1? We have a motion and second on the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 4, citizen comments. We have citizen comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark.
I do. There was one that was attached online relating to item 5.7, the All-True Sports Complex. And then in-person comments, Peyton Bakke, and she's also for item 5.7.
All right. Ms. Bakke, please step up to the mic, and thanks for being here today.
My name is Peyton Baki, and I'm an 11-year-old. I'm a 6th grader here in Grand Forks, and basketball is one of my favorite things to do. I play on a basketball traveling team as well as for Grand Forks Fast Break, and through basketball I've built strong friendships and learned how to be good teammates and discover what it means to work hard and never give up. Adding more basketball courts at the new all-true indoor sports and aquatics complex would mean a lot to kids like me. It would give us more opportunities to practice and to play games and to continue growing as athletes and people. I also have a younger brother who is 6 and a sister who is 5, and they already love basketball too. Having more space to play would help kids of all ages develop their skills and share their same positive experiences I've had. Basketball has taught me so much and brought me closer to my friends and community. I hope you'll consider adding more courts so even more kids can be a part of something that makes such a big difference in our lives. Thank you for your time and your support for kids and families in Grand Forks.
Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
And I have one other comment, citizen commenter Paula Volgren.
Ms. Walgren, are you here? Please.
Surprise.
There you go, please.
My name is Paula Volgren. I own the 701 thrift store, and I have more problems there that you guys, the last time I was here, said that you guys were going to look into it. It has not been done. I've called the police department about the traffic going through there 40, 50 miles an hour. Almost hit some more kids. Do you know what the cops told me? They're busier on the south side of town than it is on the north end of town. And I asked him for his name, his card. He says he didn't have any, so he couldn't give me any. That's not the only problem. I went to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had 2 people out there getting shots on my doorstep of my store and left their syringes on my door step. I called the cops. I asked them to come get them. They told me to take care of them the best way I knew how. I said, well, I'm not going out. I'm not going to touch them. I'm not doing it. So are we as a city taxpayers paying for the cops to help us? Or are we just nobody on the north end of town? That's not all, but the city of Grand Forks screwed up. They gave us a new garbage can. They were charging us 2 times more than what the garbage can we were supposed to have. They gave us a small one. We were supposed to get a big one for 2 years. You know how I found out we had the wrong garbage can? One of the city garbage men people come over and says, how long have you had this garbage can here? I said, 2 years. You do not have the right garbage can. You're getting charged for stuff. Why am I paying $489 a month for that garbage can? The pawn shop pays $25. I don't know what Slapshots was paying because Slapshot got shut down by the city of Grand Forks for 7 times. So I don't know what they're paying or what they were paying. So the pawn shop guy told me he got a rebate check for $300 and some odd dollars. Do you know what I got? $280 for 2 years. So why is my garbage bill more than anybody else's? Because we're sharing the same garbage can. Oh, have I puzzled everybody? Again.
All right, thank you, Ms. Falgren. Your 3 minutes is up. Appreciate your comments this evening.
I figured you wouldn't do nothing.
I know we patrol the city. There's specific sectors, so you have the same number of cops in each sector. They don't patrol certain areas. They have different divisions. And if we've got a problem with the garbage, we'll definitely have Public Works work with you. Ms. Lipsch is there. Certainly a problem she can work on. Appreciate you coming.
I
Do you have a comment, Ms.
I have
Ossowski,
one
please?
comment. I try to once in a while I've stopped in to see Paula, but I know that, I believe Oxford bought that apartment and tore that down over there, right? Or that, what was it? That hotel, that crappy hotel that was all boarded up and that was right across the parking lot. Has that helped at all with the removal of that property?
Yes, but we still get them laying underneath my truck. They're always doing something.
Okay, but that has cleaned it up at least a little bit, right? I know last time I was there, I believe that parking lot is privately owned, correct? And so I don't know who owns the building because I only really speak with you, and I know I've spoken with the pawn shop and slap shop, but I highly suggest if that's a privately owned parking lot, that the person who owns the parking lot move what are those parking blocks? And they're allowed to set them up differently, and that would, help prevent that, moving them.
The fire department said we cannot do that, because they need to come in on that road, they need to go
right.
out to any fire.
We're going to hold the quorum here, so we're
I'll
going to
look
move
into
on.
it, sorry.
We're going to move on to the rest of the agenda, so I appreciate that, and those comments can be followed up on. We'll move on to 5 action items. City administration has 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 planned to be pulled. Any other items council would
I'd
like
like
pulled?
5.4 and 5.7.
5.4 and 5.7. Thank you. Any other ones from those online? Mr. Freed, Officer, President Sandy?
No, sir.
Okay, so the only ones we're going to do consent would just be 5.5 and 5.6. So I'll be looking for a motion to approve items 5.5 and 5.6.
So moved.
Got a motion from Ms. Burke, second from Ms. Lunsky. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So we'll move on to 5.1 through 5.4 and then 5.7, Ms. Storstad.
5.1, Red River Valley Water Supply Project Interim Financing Agreement Series F.
All right, thank you. Mr. Phelan, please.
Mayor Buczynski and members of the City Council, I'm going to give an overview of the project. Mr. Gostad's going to go through the agreement, and then Mayor Buczynski is going to provide some final words on this item. This was not at the committee of the whole, so we're providing a briefing this evening on this particular agreement. As you know, the Red River Valley Water Supply Project is, it's a century-long project for Grand Forks. So we're planning this. Our planning horizon is 2075. It's remarkable that we're under construction right now on this project. It's scheduled to be completed in 2032. And it's really intended to beneficially use a really huge asset the state of North Dakota has in the Missouri River. Most of the water, the fresh water that's in North Dakota is in the Missouri River Basin. And this project is really, the attempt is to beneficially reuse the Missouri River water as a supplemental water supply system, not only for eastern North Dakota, but for central North Dakota. So it's a really big deal that we're under construction. Grand Forks is the second leading user of this project beyond the Fargo Metro. And we've been working a lot of years, and a lot of progress has been made on this particular project. Right now, we have to give a huge thanks to the state of North Dakota. They've helped fund this project under a 75% cost share, with 25% to the local users through Lake Agassiz Water Authority, or LAWA. Right now, there's a legislative intent for $953 million up through the 2032 timeframe to help pay for that 75 cost share. What's in front of you on this evening is the 25% cost share that the users have to pay. We ultimately end up paying for that through Garrison Diversion. They take out a loan, but that loan is a 40-year term at 2% loan through the Bank of North Dakota. So we really have really positive financing on the other side. So not only are we given a benefit by the state's cost share, but we're also given a benefit on the state financing for this project, so that we don't have to go out to the market on a 40-year loan, and we're certainly never going to get a 2% loan out on the open market. Also, a big thanks, Senator Hoeven, our U.S. Senator Hoeven is looking at what he can do from the federal side to help cost support this particular project. This project, it started out using, it does have a raw water intake on the Missouri River itself, in and around Washburn. But along the way, we've been able to use some of the federal works on the McCluskey Canal. That saves this project significant sums of money. And so there will be a Biota water treatment plant. There'll be an intake on the McCluskey Canal. So we're going to use some of those federal assets. So Senator Hoeven is working on a funding strategy. Hopefully, we all hope that he's successful. That will help with some of the cost share of this particular project. And, you know, when he was looking at a cost share, and this is probably a $1.2 to $1.4 billion project, he's looking for funding somewhere in that $400 to $500 million range, which really significantly decreased the state's cost share and us as a local cost share. So we hopefully that comes to fruition. Thank you for hiring some technical experts. So you've allowed us to hire Brian Nazarenas from his law firm in Colorado. He's been a huge help on this. We've been working on 4 agreements that have been really helpful. You've also allowed us to hire Precision Water Resources. And Shane Coors and Patrick Nolan, they've been a huge help on the technical side. So they've really played a lot into what we've been working on over the last several months. This is an interim agreement, so we're at Series F. So if you know the alphabet, we've been at this for a little while doing interim. We hope this is the last interim agreement that we have, and then finally it'll get rolled into permanent agreements that we have. And I've noted those on the staff report. There'd be a bulk water agreement between LAWA, which we're a member, and Garrison Diversion to provide the water from the Missouri River Basin through that pipeline and then distribute that into the Cheyenne River Valley and Lake Ashtabula. LAWA and its member entities, we would negotiate an agreement on how we're going to operate this. And so right now, there's something called the split delivery method that Mr. Costa will go over. That's essentially having Garrison Diversion deliver the water through a bulk water agreement at the end of the pipe, and then from the end of the pipe, once it gets distributed into Lake Ashtabula and the Cheyenne River system and then into the Red River, LAWA would handle that, anything after the pipeline itself. So that's one of the agreements. We have these Thompson Acker rights already in Lake Ashtabula, so our predecessors back in the 1950s and 1960s did us a big favor. We have the senior priority for that water right that's there for drought mitigation. And so we've never had to use it, but all these years later, it's remarkable what foresight they had. So this project of Red River Valley Water Supply really is a supplement to the Thompson Acker water rights that we have. So we're working on an agreement there. And then finally, Grand Forks is going to use this project. We're going to nominate for water supply in this project, but generally what we're going to use is we're going to get Fargo's wastewater reuse water. So we're going to need to negotiate a reuse agreement with Fargo. In other words, Fargo uses, if they use 20 MGD gallons per day on average, we're going to require them to return an X percentage to the Red River system so that we can have plenty of water supply when it gets to Grand Forks. So that's how we're going to use the water. We're really going to have to team well with Fargo as part of this agreement. Mayor Buchenski is now our member of the Lake Agassiz Water Authority. I did have a conversation with Councilmember Vian, who not only is on City Council, but he's also the Garrison Diversion Grand Forks County representative, and he's in support of us moving forward with Series F, and as we discussed this evening. And I mentioned our consultants and our attorneys have done a great job. The one thing I also want to point out that's beyond, again, the Red River Valley Water Supply Project, our consultants, and we are working on the Red Lake River. Thankfully, we're the Grand Forks, so there's 2 rivers that come into Grand Forks, which is sometimes a challenge during flooding times. But it's a benefit for us during drought conditions because we do have 2 rivers coming in. We rely upon a lot on the Red Lake River coming from Minnesota. In addition, we're analyzing that river system and what would we be able to rely upon in a drought condition, because that's a supplemental water system that we have to it. So we're evaluating that above and beyond this Red River Valley Water Supply Project. This is an interim financing committee. Thankfully, we were able to get the state of North Dakota to commit their 75% is $205 million. Our 25% is $68.3 million. So the total budget for this project over this current biennium is a little over $273 million total. Our share of that, and it includes East Grand Forks has a small share of our 16.1325% of the project. That's our local cost share. Fargo has the largest cost share, but we're the second most. That cost share of that local cost share of $68 million translates into Grand Forks a little over $11 million. And that $11 million will turn into a 40-year loan at 2% is what that $11 million will turn into through the Bank of North Dakota. A year ago, we set up in the 25 budget, we set up in our water enterprise fund, we set up a drought mitigation fee. And that debt service that we've already accumulated in this future will be paid through that drought mitigation fee that is in our water enterprise fund, but also is in a fee itself on our utility bill. Right now, the mayor has talked about, we're trying to evaluate what number do we need to nominate for. Our current nomination that we're really evaluating, that's why we hired these technical experts and looking at the Red Lake River in addition, along with the Thompson Acker rights that we have. Right now, previously we've nominated for 28.1 CFS. That translates into 18.1 million gallons per day. That includes East Grand Forks. They're a small percentage of that. And that's over the 2075 planning horizon. So about 50 years from now is what we're trying to look for. And our average day in Grand Forks is 8 million gallons per day is our average day. On a summer day where we have more water use, it's 14 to 15 million gallons per day. So that's kind of what we have. We do have industry coming on with Agristo. Right now they're planning to add another almost 2 million gallons per day to our annual average. And they were looking at a phase 2 part of that project that could add, go up to 3.5 million gallons per day. So we're trying to look at what our population growth, what our use would be per capita, but also looking at what future industry may come to Grand Forks that will need treated water from our water treatment system. With that, we're going to have Dan Gosted go over the presentation, and I'll play the Haley Rosasson and go through the agreement as Mr. Gosted goes through it. With that, Mr. Gosted, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Mayor and city council members, this is like Todd had mentioned, a interim financing to allow the project to continue on for the next biennium, particularly with respect to work in next summer. Garrison had indicated that they needed this in place in order to actually start even ordering pipe and having it delivered in a timely fashion so the work could be done next year. This was an effort not just from the city of Grand Forks, but attorneys for the city of Fargo and LAWA were involved in negotiating the various terms and conditions. As I understand what is presented to you tonight, and there's a red line version that was just recently posted because last night at about, well, it was 10:45 that we got some additional changes from Garrison they wanted to make to the agreement. As a result, the attorneys for LAWA, the city of Fargo, gathered today and went through those changes, and some of them were found to be acceptable. And that's what's reflected on the red line version that you have in front of you. Maybe you don't have the red line version. The changes are reflected really in recitals 1 through 4. There were some changes made there. Really non-substantive to discuss some legislative authority. These changes were made because bond counsel for both Garrison and the Bank of North Dakota had requested those provisions be added back. It basically just restates what's already in the statutes. As Mr. Phelan mentioned, one of the really crucial parts of this agreement is contained in recitals 5, 6, and 7, because what it does is it sets the stage for those agreements that are going to be developed in the near future. The bulk water agreement for Garrison to deliver the water to LAWA, and then LAWA entering into agreements with its members and those that are participating in the project as to the distribution of that water from Lake Ashtabula. And then agreements with the state with respect to the Thompson Ackerman rights, and that those would be recognized and not be modified or impaired. You'll see in recital 7, there's this highlighting provision. That is what's in the agreement today and what was acceptable to Fargo and Lawa. One of the changes that Garrison wanted to make was that that would read differently in that they would not impair or modify those rights except as the scope may be defined by the Department of Water Resources. Those rights are existing property rights for the city of Grand Forks, for the city of Fargo, and other Thompson Ackerman rights holders. And so we are insisting that if there is going to be any modification of those rights, it has to be by agreement by the rights holders, which would include the city of Grand Forks. And I highlighted that because that was a change that Garrison wanted, and after discussion today with the attorneys for law in the city of Fargo, that was not acceptable, and this language was retained to preserve those water rights that the city of Grand Forks has. Bear in mind that this financing, the terms of the financing are what you've seen before. The numbers are different, obviously, but it's essentially the same as the loan is made to Garrison, but the city of Fargo and those that are signing off, the various cities that are signing off on this, actually then reimburse or pay that loan amount back to the Bank of North Dakota. Once all the nominations are finalized and all the agreements are finalized, then those numbers get adjusted once everything is completed and we have the four, particularly the bulk water and the LAWA agreements put together. Those will be readjusted. A couple of things I also want to point out is that in section 2.01 of the agreement, it was made clear that everybody is entered into this agreement and we're relying upon the recitals and the split delivery method. This is it's different than what had been contemplated years before, where Garrison would run everything. Now there is a split process where LAWA, and there will be more local control in that regard for the delivery of the water through this split delivery. And so we've made it clear that we're relying upon this and not only in entering into it, but in consideration for the payments that are to be made under this agreement as well. That language is in there because if we don't then enter into those agreements, we can refer to this language about our reliance and have discussions with Garrison about that in moving forward with those other agreements and their obligation to do so. The recitals also make it clear that they will enter into these agreements, not intend to or contemplate, but they will enter into those agreements. Again, that was an important feature as we started working through the Series F agreement. The only other item I want to mention is that in section 1.01, there was some language that was it must be a little bit, it's in, I'm sorry, Todd, it's below the defined terms. Section 1.01 of 1.02, we removed language with respect to, if there was conflict between the terms of this Series F agreement with any other prior agreement, that the terms of the Series F agreement would prevail. That was removed, and I don't see an issue with that removal of that particular section, because we already have a provision in section 6.01 that this is the entire agreement between the parties, and all prior agreements wouldn't apply. So if there's an issue with respect to the Series F, we look to this agreement only. The other key feature of the agreement here is that there has been this cooperation agreement that's been bantered around a number of times by Garrison, and we also made it clear that that agreement, the city of Grand Forks is not a party to that agreement, to make clear that it doesn't apply. It's been asserted a couple of times with respect to some comments or matters and questions that the city of Grand Forks properly have raised with respect to the project, and asserting that the cooperation agreement somehow has application. And so we wanted to make clear that it does not apply. Again, this agreement became important from the aspect of making sure the recitals and making sure that the terms of the split delivery were acknowledged, and we'll be moving forward with those 4 agreements in that spirit of the project. The financing terms are actually similar. The one other item I do want to point out, there is language in, let me see if I can find it here. Yes, section 3.04, where it talks about that we agree that we have to reimburse and pay our pro rata share from legally available funds, which are irrevocably pledged to payment thereof. That was language that Garrison wanted inserted, evidently based upon their bond counsel and to include that. The issue here is that legally available revenues means effectively any revenue that the city of Grand Forks may generate. And so that may cause us some concern with respect to existing bonds, future bonds. And so we are getting clarification from our own bond counsel with Dorsey Whitney. The city of Fargo has the same, and there's communication that has been had with them as to this language, and to the extent that the city would approve the Series F, we'd ask that the approval be subject to bond council approval with respect to that language or removal of that language, because it may have other consequences to the city of Grand Forks. So that's essentially the presentation. Again, the financing, those terms are generally the same as what you've seen in the prior series. This really became important to negotiate and to include that split delivery. And from what I understand, this agreement will be presented as well to the other member entities that are signing, including the city of Fargo. And it took some time for us to get there, but we finally got there as late as 1 o'clock this afternoon with some additional changes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just got a couple, do you got a direct question? I have some comments as well, so.
I got questions. You can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I've got a few comments. And first, appreciate Mr. Gosted, you and the legal team from Fargo and everybody. It's pretty off-putting to receive comments at 11 p.m. on a Sunday and expect you to turn that around for a Monday council meeting, and you guys did a pretty great job. It's certainly, this project is pretty big money. The local cost share is 25%, the state's 75%. You've kind of got this third party in the middle, which is Garrison, which has no funding themselves in the project, but they control a lot of the strings on it. Grand Forks and Fargo have carried the project to date through series A, B, C, D. Finally, in D2, I think we had a couple of other people, but it's been largely Grand Forks and Fargo. Recently, we have had some concerns, some legitimate concerns that we brought forward through our technical team and through analysis on this project, and they were not viewed positively at all, viewed very negatively from Garrison. It's been quite the challenge to go back and forth. It's only sort of hardened our belief that we need to have more local control on this project instead of a third party that doesn't have a financial interest in it. So we're continuing to move in that direction, and it has been quite challenging, but I think we're in good shape with Series F, and as we move forward, certainly we'll be working more with DWR to try to stabilize this project a little bit more, because I don't think in the direction it's going, it's been going well for a $1 billion project. There's major issues with usage of Lake Ashtabula. We need to get agreements in place with the Corps of Engineers that aren't in place, and really with a $1 billion project, Those should have been in place prior to putting hundreds of millions of dollars of pipe in the ground. So I'm spending an extensive amount of time. It's been quite challenging, but I think we're getting it into a good spot. We're trying to move it forward. Obviously, our first water that we go to during a serious drought is Lake Ashtabula, so just north of Valley City. The Bald Hill Dam was created in 1951. There's a 27-mile-long sort of lake reservoir there. We've got 20,000 acre feet, and we're in the first priority. So if there is a long drought, we go to that water first, and that's enough each year to supply our entire city, what we're using today. 20,000 acre feet is about 17+ million gallons per day. Obviously, in an extended drought, that's meant to fill up when there's snowfall. In an extended drought, that could diminish. That's where this project would come next. We haven't had to use that since 1951, so we've had a good run of 70+ years. So this is really planning for the future. So as part of this process, there's project water that also goes through this lake that we have, this Lake Ashtabula, where we have storage. We have to make sure those rights are held, and that's some of the work that we're doing. Unfortunately, there's been some work behind our backs with DWR and other partners that have, I think, jeopardized that, but we're on top of that, and with DWR, we're in good shape on that front now. So there are some nuances. There's some things that I'm not happy about that we're working through, but I'm comfortable moving forward with Series F as we have it today, and there'll certainly be more discussion. So I know you've got some questions, but I would just ask, as we move approval of this, I would want the approval to be contingent on the city attorney, my approval, as well as the LAWA rep and our bond counsel. So those would be the three things I would ask as part of the motion to make sure as we move forward, ultimately up to signing it. If something comes in where we need to make an adjustment, we can do it on the fly. So with that being said, if anyone's got any questions for me as well, I'm here to answer it as our LAWA rep. And Ms. Osowski, please
No,
continue.
but I think that ever since you've kind of taken over that role, I think you've done a really great job representing the city of Grand Forks. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, on that. I just wanted to clarify, is it between Grand Forks and East Grand Forks 16 million, and then our part is 11 million, or?
Our Mayor Buchinski and Councilmember Osowski, our total nomination includes East Grand Forks' nomination as part of us. The reason why we've done that.
How much is that? I just want a number, is what I'm looking for.
Theirs is about 1 million gallons per day.
We're all 11 million. Theirs is, I would think.
But we have to buy, or we have,
You mean
yeah.
the million?
East Grand Forks, much less. It's probably 100,000. It's very insignificant.
Okay, I
Ours
guess
is
I don't
11
know.
million. 16% of the project we're
Right,
paying
right.
for. That dollar amount for this series is 11 million. I think the total project, if we continue with our current nomination, would be in the $60 million range. So, I mean, that's very significant. And then keep in mind, we're a 25% cost share. Once operations and maintenance of the project starts, we don't get the cost share from the state. Then all the users have to use it, and that would be 100% our cost. Again, another reason why we need to have more local control and decision-making to ensure those costs are kept down. Okay.
Yeah, I heard a 16.1 million, so I just wanted to clarify if it was 16.1 and 11. I know you guys have been working very hard on this project. The only thing that I'm going to point out is this is a new tax on our citizen. It's a brand-new account. There's nothing in that fund, so everything is brand new. It is 4 cents per 100 gallons of water, not that big of a deal. I think that protecting our rights with Lake Ashtabula is really important because, like the mayor stated, like we're up there. Are we first or second? We're first. And so I think it's really important that we continue having the mayor represent us and making good decisions. And with that, I'm going to move approval with the mayor's recommendation on that. But I do have a question though. If you make small adjustments to this on the fly, one, we will be notified then at the next meeting that we have. And two, are we going to put a spending cap of maybe the $11 million in there just to make sure that we don't, I mean, I don't want a bunch of, all of a sudden now it comes back and we owe $13 million.
No, the intention would be to either accept it as, in case something develops in the next couple weeks
Right.
before signature.
Okay.
So that if we had to stop it, I mean, that would be the only thing. They would need to have my approval in the end. Otherwise, everything else would come back to you. So we're not looking at any spending authority.
I move approval with the mayor's suggestions that he had.
You got a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion for Ms. Osowski, second for Ms. Berg. Any further comments?
No.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.2, Grand Forks Renaissance Zone Project GF-88 Suit House LLC.
Oh, you don't have to get up. I just have one quick question that'll be real quick to clarify. This is not an exemption of taxes from the city of Grand Forks. It is only the state, right?
Councilmember Osowski, you are correct. As you recall, this already received a 20-year 100% incentive on the property tax side, so it's just for the income tax.
Okay.
And this is just the tenant, not for the
okay.
the apartment owner. So
And
this
it's
is
just from the state income tax. It's
Yep, it's
okay,
part of our
perfect.
Renaissance zone, so they can
Yep.
apply for that, and we just have to give approval.
Perfect. I move approval.
Got a motion to approve item 5.2.
Second.
From Osowski, second from Ms. Berg. They've been quick today. Any further comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.3 is to accept a grant award, assistance to firefighters grant.
Thank you. This is a great one. We didn't know if we were going to get this one, Chief, so they must have saw a new chief, fresh upstart, and they wanted to give us all the money, so it worked out good. Why don't you talk about it briefly, because it wasn't on the cow.
Yes, so just recently, Mayor Paczynski, members of council, we were notified that the City of Grand Forks Fire Department was awarded the Assistant to Firefighting Grant, or Firefighters Grant FY24, which is administered through the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This is a grant to update the department's inventory of self-contained breathing apparatus, so the air tanks that the firefighters wear to breathe off of and work in hazardous atmospheres. These are getting aged. They are a few code sets behind. So this grant to the tune of $499,227 will significantly offset the city's financial responsibility to update all of this equipment.
I move approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Again, motion from Osowski, second from Berg. Any further comments? I do want to say, I do think this is a great use of FEMA money. I think we've seen in recent times some poor usages of FEMA money, so we're happy that this came through for us. So with that being said, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
5.4, 2026 CSG program.
All right, any further questions or for Mr.
Oh, I guess I pulled this one. What
Yeah.
changed? What got updated
Hanson.
on, it says it was updated on 10/3.
Yep,
Were there changes
Yeah,
made to it, or?
The update is in the last page of the staff report. The CAC met and considered the information that was presented from the working group on homelessness and housing, the same presentation you all had received, as well as some statistics on the homeless shelters that are in our community and what their capacities are. So it was just asked with that updated information that the CAC consider that and whether there should be priority areas for this year's application process. This year, the CAC felt that even with that information, it was good to remain nimble and be responsive to the applications that came in. So no change in the recommendation, just some additional context based on their meeting on the 5th Monday.
So we still don't have a theme though, correct?
Correct.
Okay, even though all right, I move approval.
Got a motion to approve, second from Ms. Lunsky, motion from Osowski, second from Lunsky. Any further comment? Ms. Lunsky, please.
I think we just agreed not to come up with a theme this year, just so there's so much need, it kind of keeps it open.
Any further comment? We appreciate your work on there. All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Finally, 5.7, Ultra Sports Complex Project Phase 1 and 2 updates and Ultra Sports Complex Phase 2 approvals.
I just have a comment and then I'm ready to vote.
Okay, please.
You know, I'm really concerned about where this is going to leave our friends at the park board. Right now, year one, they're already predicting a very large loss, and that's anything additional to that, you know, they're really going to have to go back and look at. I just want to point out that the school board approved a budget that was $4 million over. Our county isn't doing really that well financially, and I don't think that it is the right thing for us to do to put our friends at the park board in a position where they are going to have to guarantee to raise taxes. And everybody talks about economic development and things like that, but I'll tell you what, you know, I've lived in this town almost my whole life. really honestly, the population has not grown that much, considering even all the economic development. And my taxes continue to go up every single year. And so I have a hard time justifying using taxpayer funds for economic development when my taxes keep going up and up and up every year. I don't think we're being good stewards of the community by putting this all on the park board. I think there are plenty of basketball courts all around this town, but with that being said, I'm ready to vote.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from council? Otherwise, just so everyone's aware that's in the audience, we did move preliminary approval 2 weeks ago on the schematic design for the four-court design, which would put 4 hard courts, 8 volleyball courts, and add sports training. We do have a trip planned to go down to Fargo with the Park District on October 13th to view the financials and see how the Fargo Sports Complex is doing, so we can learn a lot from that. But they believe they'll actually have that facility solvent within a couple of years. So not only will they not have a loss, they'll have a profit that they can put back on the Park Districts on their revenue side. So if we can have a path like that, not only will the Park District not have to raise taxes, they might be able to reduce them. And a great way to get our property tax to go down is to get some growth in the city, because if there hasn't been growth, it's the same people paying for more expensive schools, roads, and infrastructure. So I think we're all hoping for a little bit of growth, and that'll help businesses and help a little bit of ease on our burden on our property tax side. So certainly excited. Hope this all continues and moves forward and has a great bidding environment like Phase 1 did, and another asset for our kids in our community to get off their iPhones and cell phones and video games and play with the ball and enjoy themselves like we did when we were kids. So with that, any more comments, or I'll be looking for a motion?
I'll move approval, Mayor.
Motion to approve from Mr. Weigel, second from, let's give Mike Friedolfs one. You okay with that, Ms. Berg? Mr. Friedolfs with the second. Any further comments for this evening? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1 with Osowski dissenting. All right, that's it for action items. Moved on to item 6, information items.
6.1, statement of changes in cash balance as of August 31st.
Thank you. Item 7.
7.1, vendor list and engineers estimate, that's attached.
All right, we got a motion to approve the vendors list. Motion from Ms. Berg, second from Ms. Lunsky. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And finally, 7.2, minutes from September 15th.
All right, do we have a motion to approve as is? Motion from Ms. Berg, second from Vice President Weigel. And just comment, thank you. I think that finance staff has really been up to speed on this, and I think it's been almost a year now with those coming immediately at the next meeting. So great job, Cheryl. You look like you haven't slept in that entire year, but guess we'll sleep when we're dead. No, just kidding. She does. She sleeps. All right. We got a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 8, city administrator comments. Any further comments, Mr. Phelan?
Just 3 comments. I want to give you a heads up. Next week's Committee of the Whole, we are planning to bring the Beacon Project back under a revised way forward. So you'll see that next week, Monday. The Brookstone, which was that low and moderate income housing near the Furniture Row, we're planning to bring that one forward. The rest we're going to hold off for now. And then finally, Chief Marcotte's going to bring back a transition plan regarding PSAP and kind of an organizational change. So those are 3 top things that you'll see, among other things, next week at the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Move on to mayor and council member comments. Any comments this evening, Ms. Osowski?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Lunsky? Or sorry, Ms. Berg?
No, thank you.
All right, Ms. Lunsky? Mr. Friedolfs, any comments this evening?
Just next week, UAS Summit. And so if anyone's interested in what, potential people could move into the Hive or what kind of businesses could be started there, UAS Summit's a great place to really see what's thriving in the UAS community. So
great. I know
looking forward to it.
Thank you. I know they're expecting record attendance, and they've sold out all the booths, and they're going to have to keep growing that. So I think that's a great event. Thank you, Mr. Friedolfs. All right, Vice President Weigel, any comments?
No, thank you, Mayor.
President Sandy, any comments?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor.
President Sandy, how you doing? He's been back and forth with Mayo with his eye. Just we're thinking about you here and hoping that things are a little bit better for you. And we appreciate you still logging on, even though you're dealing with some medical issues. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Surgery number 8 tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
You know what they say, 8th time's a charm. So
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. As for my comments, just want to thank everybody. Really, really do appreciate it too when people come to the meeting and engage. I do think it's not always pretty, but it's important. So I appreciate that. And with that, I'll be looking for a
I move
motion to adjourn.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn for Mosowski, second for Ms. Lunsky. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.